Hi KCPS, I'm Megan and welcome back today to read another book with me. You should have heard from Sarah last week about reading about informational text. So today we're going to read a different informational text and we're going to look at text features again. Because again, we want to come back to our same strategies as we approach new text. So let's review text features so we know exactly what we're looking for when we're reading our text today, polar bears. So remember, there's a lot of different text features, and does anyone know exactly why we have those? So remember, text features are there to help us as readers understand something that's not maybe in the print of the story, and it's also there to help us make it interesting and sometimes fun to read about, okay? So first, let's take a look at a diagram. A diagram is going to provide something to us as a reader that shows different parts of either an animal or an object that's in the book. Another text feature that we're going to see a lot in our story today is photographs. And these are helpful because it can tell us as readers what the subject of the book looks like, or maybe give us a better, more real world example when we're looking at the book. Text print is another text feature, and that's two different things. Bold words, italic words, and then when we're looking in the text, we're going to see those and we want to pay special close attention. A lot of times those bold words or italicized words will be found in the back of our informational text where we have our glossary. And our glossary is going to give us the meaning or the definition of some of those words. Another text feature we want to pay close attention to are captions. And captions are going to give us more information about the photographs we see in the books. So sometimes those captions are going to have different information that may not be in the main body text of the book, and so we want to make sure as readers we're always reading the captions for that extra bit of information. One last feature that we want to look at is the indexed. And the index also is like our table of contents, where it's going to give us page numbers if we're looking for specific information. The index is always going to be found in the back of your book, rather as the table of contents is going to be found in the front. So when we're reading today, I want you to be keeping an eye out for these text features. Once we're done reading the book, we're going to circle back to a few of these and see how they help us as readers. Okay? We're going to get started. Polar Bears by Laura Marsh. Here's my table of contents. And so if I was doing a research project about polar bears and I wanted to know what polar bears ate, I would maybe look at my table of contents to give me information to see, where am I going to find that information? And I see here it says, what's for dinner? Page 14. That means I can go to page 14 and find that information. Now I'm going to read the book from start to finish, but we'll circle back to this again. Who am I? I'm white and furry, and I swim in the sea. The cold snow and ice are just right for me. Who am I? A polar bear. Big bears. Have you seen a polar bear in a zoo? Polar bears are big, really big. They are the biggest meat eaters on land. A polar bear can weigh as much as 7 men. A polar bear's body is built for the Arctic. These bears have thick fur to keep them warm. Polar bears have thick fat too. The fat keeps body heat in and keeps the Arctic cold out. Word bite. Arctic, the area near the North Pole where it is very cold. Powerful paws. A polar bear's paws do many things. Paws dig dens in the snow. They break the ice to find food. They also pull food out of the water. Long, thick, curved claws grab food easily. Thick pads keep feet warm. Front paws are webbed like duck's feet. This helps polar bears swim. Bumps on the foot pads keep bears from slipping on the ice. Big paws keep bears from sinking into the snow. The paws are larger than a dinner plate. What text feature do you see shown here? Think about that and we'll come back to it. Word bite, den. A den is a hidden hole where a wild animal lives. Polar bears' mother have their babies in a den. Super swimmers. Polar bears are great swimmers. They spend a lot of time in the water. Their front paws paddle. Their back legs steer. Their fat helps polar bears float. Word bite. Float, which means to rest or move in water without sinking. What's for dinner? Here's that heading. A polar bear eats other animals. Seals are its favorite food. This bear is hunting seals on the sea ice. Seals come up for air at holes in the ice. The bear waits and waits. Finally, a seal appears. The polar bear snatches it in a flash. Polar bears have good noses. They can smell a seal 20 miles away. Polar bears have good hearing and eyesight too. These come in handy when looking for dinner. This polar bear has spotted an Arctic fox. The ice melts in spring and summer. Polar bears stay with the ice when they can. They move to land when the sea ice is mostly gone. On land, they usually don't eat at all. Some bears may eat bird eggs. They may eat plants or berries. But there is not much food for polar bears on land. Bears in town. In Churchill, Canada, polar bears come to town in the fall. The ice is melting earlier each year. It is forming later too. The bears are hungry. They are looking for food. Our earth is getting warmer. There is less sea ice now. This is dangerous for polar bears. They need the ice to hunt. 7 amazing polar bear facts. Number 1, the largest polar bear ever recorded was 2,209 pounds. That's the weight of a small sports car. Number 2, polar bears have black skin underneath their white fur. Number 3, sometimes polar bears get too hot. Then they take a swim or roll in the snow. Number 4, walruses are one of the animals that polar bears are afraid of. 5, some people go on vacation to see polar bears. They ride in special buggies to stay safe. Number 6, polar bears can eat 100 pounds of seal fat at one time. That's about as heavy as 400 hamburgers. Number 7, polar bears clean themselves by rubbing their bodies on the snow. Cute cubs. Every new polar bear is special. A mother bear has babies called cubs. She digs a den in the snow. The cubs stay safe and warm in the den. The cubs drink their mother's rich milk. They grow quickly. Soon, they are big enough to leave the den. A mother polar bear teaches her cubs to hunt. She also teaches them how to stay safe. The cubs leave their mother when they are 2 years old. They are ready to learn to live on their own. Playtime. Polar bears like to play just like you. Bears wrestle with each other. They slide in the snow. They like to play games too. Sometimes a cub gets a ride from mom. These bears are off on an Arctic adventure. What in the world? These pictures show close-up views of things in a polar bear's world. Use the hints to figure out what's in the pictures. The first one is a picture of what looks like to be a bear's. Any ideas? It says hint helps find dinner. You're right. That's a bear's nose. Number 2, it says hint. You don't have one of these. What do I don't have that a polar bear has? If you said a tail, you're correct. 3, hint. A polar bear's favorite food. I think we read that a few pages ago. Does anyone know? You're correct. That's a seal. 4, Hint, keeps a bear warm. That's got to be that fur, right? Number 5, hint, built for snow, ice, and water. What does a polar bear use for those things? Their paws. Great job. Number 6, hint, polar bears are afraid of this animal. What were they afraid of? What did the text say? Correct, a walrus. And then our last page is a text feature that we already discussed. Now, this is our picture glossary. You'll notice that the end of the book has some of the terms that were throughout the text. And then it's going to give the definition or the meaning of those words. So if I'm not sure what a den is, I can look in my glossary and it says, a hidden hole where a wild animal lives. Polar bear mothers have their babies in a den. So that tells me what a den is, but it also gives me a picture if I need that reminder about what that word. Let's go back and look at another couple text features that we had in here and see if we can see how that helps us as a reader. So on page 10, we talked about this being a text feature. If you paid close attention, you should know from our anchor chart what this is. You're right, it's a diagram. So let's go back to our anchor chart. A diagram tells us as readers what different parts of an object are. So if you noticed, what was this diagram about? It talked about the different parts of a polar bear's paw. So if I'm reading the text, I may get some information about how the paw does a lot of different things. It digs dens, it helps break apart the ice. But the diagram gives me information that wasn't included in the text over here. It told me about how the claws are thick and they're long and they're curved. I wouldn't have known that if I just read the text. The diagram also talks about the bumps on the foot pads that keep the bear from slipping. That's something that I didn't know before. And what's awesome about a diagram is that it points to that part, so I know exactly what it's referring to. Another thing that it talks about is that the pads are thick and they keep the feet warm. And I know that where polar bears live, this is going to be important that they stay warm throughout that cold season. So again, this diagram gave me a lot of information and it was presented in an interesting way other than just reading the text. Let's see another text feature. Ooh, on this page, I noticed some really powerful photographs. The photograph on the left was really helpful to me as a reader to know how polar bears hunt for their food. So it talks about how they hunt for the seals on the sea ice and they come up for air and the bear waits. But I didn't know what that looked like until I saw this photograph. Looking at the photograph, I can see how the polar bear hangs his head over almost his little nose and is looking for the seal to pop up. His whole body's not over the ice, just that little piece, right? And so again, the photograph really helped me as a reader understand what was included in the text. Those are just a few of the text features that we touched on in our anchor chart, but also that were in this book. If you have an opportunity to read another informational or nonfiction book today, I want you to keep a close eye on some of the text features we talked about and see if they give you extra information. Next week, we're going to continue to read nonfiction or informational text, but we're going to be looking at a different reading strategy. I look forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday for ELA Tuesday, and I can't wait to see what Miss Sarah is going to bring to read. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Hi, welcome back to ELA Tuesday for 3rd through 6th grade readers. My name is Sherry, and we're going to think today about narrative stories from narrative conflict. This is our last narrative that we're going to look at because in a little bit, next week we'll transition into informational text, but we're going to look at one more narrative today, and that's the narrative Dandelions. Dandelions is going to tell a story about a young girl named Becca and her family, and we're going to figure out, using those 3 magic questions about narrative conflict, what's going on with Becca? Remember the 3 questions? Remember back to a couple episodes ago. What is the narrative conflict? What's the conflict happening here, right? What's the character having to overcome or struggle against? What's the best way to solve that conflict? And what prediction can we make based on that prime solution, right? So Becca has an interesting issue. Becca is it's a mixture of conflicts. We're going to find today, remember, characters can have different conflicts. They can conflict against nature. They can conflict against other characters. They can have a conflict against themselves and their own internal feelings, or even a situation in their life, right? Becca's going to have a problem today. Her conflict is going to be a mixture of all of those. So this is an interesting book for us to study. It's called Dandelions. We came to Nebraska Territory in the spring. You can tell it's a historical fiction book, right? It's based back in the pioneer days. Our oxen, Brownie and Blackie, pulled the wagon, and our cow, Moo, was tied on behind. It was a long way from my grandparents' home in Illinois. A long, long way. Papa laughed and sang. "Look at it, Emma," he said to Mama. "Miles and miles of free land." "But it's so lonely," Mama said. "We won't be lonely," Papa promised. "We have each other and the girls, and in the fall there will be the new baby." His voice sounded almost holy. "A new baby in a new land." My little sister Rebecca put her mouth close to my ear. "Where are the trees, Zoe?" So we're going to see what Zoe and Becca are going to have some issues here. They're going to have some conflicts, right? "We'll come to some," I said. We did, but not many. I mean, very few. Day after day we trundled along, our wagon wheels making their own tracks through the tall grass. "See how the grass closes behind us?" Mama asked. "It's as if we'd never been." We cooked our meals outside the wagon and slept on Mama's quilt spread on the ground. Papa told us the names of the stars and about the moon and how it rose and set, and how the moon and the stars were the same ones that shone over Grandma and Grandpa's house, the very ones we used to see through our bedroom window. When he told us that, I cried a little, but I didn't let Rebecca see. I was trying to be brave. The sound of the wind in the grass was like the sound of the rivers we'd known back home. Day and night the sound was in our ears. Sometimes we came to real rivers, and when we did, we washed ourselves and topped off our water kegs. And sometimes the river was easy to cross, and sometimes it was hard, with Brownie and Blackie getting so frightened as they swam, and us holding on to them and to the wagon, too. Sometimes we even had to cross on a ferry pulled by ropes. It'd been weeks since we started our journey. Weeks, 12 miles a day, in this, if we were lucky. One day we did 17, in the wagon the whole way. Then, on a morning when the roar of the grass seemed quieter, Papa jumped down from the wagon and shouted, "We're here!" It looked no different from any of the land that we'd crossed already. I said, "How do you know this is ours?" I asked. Papa showed him wooden signs with our names, Bolton, on them. He pulled one from the ground and waved it around. "See? My claim stake. I planted it here when I came last spring." He held the sign high and raised his face to the sky. "We're here," he called again. I thought maybe this time he might be talking to God. I will never forget the way Mama looked as she got down from the wagon and stood in the knee-high grass. She shaded her eyes from the sun. "This is where we are to live our lives?" she asked Papa in a voice that was kind of still and quiet as the land around us. "There's no water." Papa smiled. "I told you, we'll have to sink a well. We'll dig a well. It'll be fine. The water is below in the ground. All we need is a pick and a shovel and those we brought." "Couldn't we live beside the river?" Rebecca asked. "I liked it by the river." Her lips quivered like she was fighting back tears. "All that land is taken, Becca, but we'll do fine here. You'll see," Papa said. He put in a hand on Mama's shoulder. "After the well is sunk, we'll put in the crops. It's almost past seeding time, and then we'll start on the house." He slipped his arm down so it circled her waist. "Those neighbors I visited, the Stevensons, they're just a 3-hour ride away." A 3-hour ride to get to the neighbor's house. Think about that. Mama, no wonder Mama's feeling kind of lonely, right? She's 3 hours away from the closest people. "They will advise us, and I'm going to borrow their plow, and we'll go there before we settle," Papa said, all excited. We waited for the Stevensons the very next morning. It was hard to see their house. It was so much like the empty land around it. I think we would have missed it if Papa hadn't known exactly where he was going. I don't know how he did know, but Papa's smart, I guess. That's their house. See how it blends into the land? Mrs. Stevenson came running towards us, and Papa stopped the wagon so Mama could get down. She and Mrs. Stevenson met and hugged and cried. "Does Mama know her already?" I whispered to Papa. "No, but they're happy to see each other. It's been a long time since either of them has seen another woman to be a friend. It'll be different soon. Other settlers will come." "The ones that will live by the river?" Rebecca asked. "Yes, those and others. It will be crowded. Already there is a town I told you about, only a day's ride from here. There will be many towns." I looked around. It was hard to imagine. So now we can think about what's the conflict. The first question we're going to stop and ask ourselves is what's the conflict, right? So Zoe and Rebecca have come to this new land, right? The biggest conflict we have so far is that it seems like Mama is feeling very lonely. Mama doesn't seem very happy about the new place they're living, the Nebraska territory. Let's find out what happens. Come and see our house, Mrs. Stevenson called. It was made of sod, chunks of brick cut from the ground, and it had one door and one window that Mr. Stevenson had bought for $1.25 in the town. He kept touching the window as if he couldn't believe it was there. The house was called a soddy. It was in it was a chunk stove they'd brought with them from Minnesota, a bed, a table, and benches. They also had 5 boys and a pig that they kept in a pit, and a canary that they kept in a cage. Becca and I liked the pig and the canary, but not the 5 boys. Stevensons shared their dinner with us. Mama admired the beautiful tablecloth that was spread on the table. Her fingers traced the flowers. "Roses," she said. "I remember the way they smell." "I remember too," Mrs. Stevenson said. Bits of earth kept falling from the roof as we ate, and Mrs. Stevenson kept picking them off the table. Twice, black beetles fell onto the table too. "You get used to it," she said with a head shake. I'm not sure Mama's going to get used to this. This is the conflict about nature part, right? Mama's not liking the nature here. She doesn't like living in a dirt home. She doesn't like the idea of living 3 hours away from anybody else with no trees and no flowers. So it's missing roses and that kind of stuff. "Once a snake this big dropped," one of the boys spread his arms wide and leered at Rebecca and me. I guess we were supposed to faint, but we didn't. The canary sang a little song, and we all turned to look at it. "I missed the songbirds," Mrs. Stevenson said. "There are so few here. Mr. Stevenson got me the canary." "Its song is sweet," Mama said, "so sweet." And I think it was tears that made her eyes shine that time. We stayed over that night, Mama and Papa sleeping on the floor inside the soddy house, and all of us children outside. "Are you girls afraid of mice?" the boys asked. "There are millions of them. They run over you. They'll probably nest in your hair." "Rebecca and I like mice," I said. We pointed at the stars and told the boys their names, Castor and Pollux and Leo the lion to the east. But they laughed their horrible hooting laughs, and they said we were making it up. Only people and animals had names, they said. We left early next morning, the plow in our wagon and our water kettles refilled. Mr. Stevenson gave Papa a tree branch to use as a ridgepole for our house, and 2 forked tree limbs from the river that would help hold the sod on our roof. He and Papa talked about how it would be done, and Mr. Stevenson said he'd come lend a hand. Papa said that he would be obliged. He said that he had 3 strong helpers of his own, too. He meant us, and he sounded so proud, I felt I could do anything. "Good neighbors," he told Mama. As we rattled along back home, he and Rebecca and I walked beside the wagon because it was so heavy, with the plow and the wood and Mama's baby that was getting bigger inside her. "Will our house be just like theirs?" Mama asked, "with the dirt walls?" Papa glanced at the window and they nodded. "I'll get us a window and a canary too," he promised. I think he knows that Mama's not liking this place, right? Papa said the first thing we must do is make slits in the ground and plant the corn. That way we would have food for us and the animals for the coming winter. Then we started on the well. We dug a long way down. It was days before we found water. "My gosh, we almost dug ourselves a hole to China," Papa boomed. "To China? Truly?" Rebecca asked, and Papa laughed and drew up a bucket of cloudy water. He let the specks of dirt in it settle so we could all have a drink. Think about that. Drew up a scoop of water from the river. Let the dirt fall to the ground so you can drink it without tasting the dirt. Totally different kind of life than we live, right? In the next weeks, we cleared the land of hidden rocks and turned the earth and planted the rest of the seed we'd brought from home. "Don't you see?" Papa asked Mama one night. I don't think he knew I was listening. "I could never have made a life for us in Illinois. It will be good here." It was as if he was pleading with her to be happy, and I felt sorry for him, though I wasn't sure why. When the house was up at last, Papa gave thanks for our snug dirt home this soddy, for the baby that was to come, and for our safe journey. Mare's tail clouds waved in the sky, and the grass sang around us. I'd never seen Papa so happy or Mama so sad. I knew she missed our grandparents' home in Illinois, where she'd lived all her life, where we'd lived too until Papa decided to move west. That house was walls covered with pretty wallpaper, and a cupboard and painted china plates inside. Mama didn't say she was remembering that, but I kind of knew that she was, every time she looked at the dirt wall of our home. When we'd done our chores and finished our lessons, Rebecca and I always went to play outside. "Don't get lost," Mama would whisper. "We're only going to pet Moo," we'd tell her, or to pretend in our rock pile. We saved every rock from the field, and the pile could be anything. It was our very own mountain, or castle, or fort. Sometimes we'd see her watching us from inside the door, and I'd think, Mama worries over nothing. It was true that the soddy did disappear, almost as if you stepped away from it, turning into just another hump in the ground and looking just like the prairie. It's like a prairie dog's burrow, Mama said. I bet prairie dogs like their burrows, I told her, and Papa smiled. That's my Zoe girl. She's trying to cheer up Mom. The biggest conflict here is that Mom is sad, right? Mama would stand for hours looking at the curve where grass and sky met. Always nothing, she'd say. Always the sameness. Everything looks the same. I was glad when she spoke, even to herself. It was her silences that scared me. Sometimes I felt she'd gone away and I couldn't find her. Okay, so we're going to stop here for a second and we're going to stop and think. What's our narrative conflict? Our conflict is character versus nature and character versus character, in that Mama's not happy with the nature that's around them, and Zoe is unhappy with Mama feeling lonely, right? Mama's feeling lonely and depressed, and Zoe's not sure what to do about that. So the best way to solve the conflict, our next question is, what's the conflict, and then what's the best way to solve that? The best way to solve that is to find a way for Mama to be happy in this new home. Now, we know Mama misses flowers, right? And we know Mama's not happy with the walls, the dirt house that they had to build, right? The soddy, which is a house made of dirt, because she's like, she doesn't want to look at dirt walls. So now we're going to look ahead and we're just going to do what we call a picture walk. Obviously, you would finish reading, but in this case, we're going to picture walk our prediction. So we're going to come up with a prediction that something's going to happen. Zoe's going to do something, right, that helps Mama feel happy and solves those two issues Mama has. One, that Mama misses flowers, and two, that Mama's not happy with living in a dirt home, right, and looking at dirt walls. So here's Papa and Zoe and Rebecca, right? They look like they're coming up with some sort of a secret together. Now, Papa and Zoe are probably taking the wagon into town. Mama's waving goodbye to them, right? Papa and Zoe, you can tell the authors made it very clear. Look, Papa and Zoe have a secret they're sharing. They're probably figured out something that they're going to do to cheer Mama up, right? So they have a secret. Let's see what that secret is. Remember the book, the name of the book is Dandelions. Papa and Zoe come across a dandelion patch. And you can tell that with a shovel, he's digging them up, right? Let's think about, what could they do with the dandelions? Are they going to take the dandelions to Mom to maybe cheer her up, since she missed flowers and dandelions are kind of pretty and yellow and flowers, right? So they head back. Now they're back home with Mama and Rebecca. Let's find out what's going to happen. And Zoe's whispering the secret to Becca. Can you tell? The illustrator makes it very clear. She's whispering the secret. And Becca thinks it's a great secret because look at Becca's facial expression. She's all happy and excited about it, right? So now they've got the dandelions and they're planting them. Maybe they're planting them where Mama can see them. Instead of giving them to Mama, they're planting so that they grow more, right? Look at where they put the dandelions. They planted them on the roof of the dirt house so that Mama doesn't... Remember, Mama kept saying it gets lost and she couldn't see it because it would blend into all the prairie land? Now it sticks out because it's bright and yellow and sunny with all the dandelions on the roof. So Zoe's figured out a way to make Mama feel happy again. We can predict that even without reading. Now, obviously, we would want to finish the book. Today, we're not. I'm going to let you choose it if you want to at your local library. But normally what I want you to know is that readers, if you're really smart and thinking as you're moving your way through a book and you're thinking about the conflict and the best way to solve it, you can figure out how the characters are going to solve the problem even before you finish reading the book, all the way through. Readers, that's what I want you to keep in mind as you're reading your next narrative. Thanks and happy reading.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another edition of KCPS Homeroom. I am Chris Odom, your ELA coordinator for Kansas City Public Schools. Today, instead of looking at a specific reading, we're going to look at a website and a wonderful contest that's a national offering each year for students starting in age 7th grade all the way through 12. Okay, so if you are going to explore with me, we're going to go about checking out this website. For starters, it's artandwriting.org. Or you would just Google Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Okay, so There's really one main place for everything, both visual art, writing categories, everything happens right here. Okay, so what we would want to do as students ourselves in order to be part of this contest was really decide a category of entry. And the best way to do so would be to really start with the gallery. So I'm going to go into this button at the top here that says galleries. And right off the bat, we'll see there's some different categories for these galleries. There's an art gallery, a writing category. You can search by just the award winners, and then you can do a filter and search. So I'm going to come over here and do a little filter and search. And when I start clicking, looks like some of the other top searches already start popping up. But we can search by student name or work title. Be completely honest, I don't know a student's name. So I'm going to go back from this part, and I'm going to go instead of filter and search, I'm going to go look in some of the writing categories. If you did know the name of a particular student and you were looking for their work or a name of one of their writings, that'd be a good place to go over here was filter and search. Okay, so without logging in or creating an account or anything, I can just go in and browse. And I can take a look at particular categories that I might think are interesting to me. You'll see that there's 10 categories for the writing category area. And in some of the situations, it asks you to enter more than one category. That's called the Portfolio Award, in which case I believe you choose 4 of the areas or more and submit a larger body of work to see if you can win the big award. Because the overall Gold Portfolio Award is an award that's highly recognized by a lot of colleges for very large scholarships. So a lot of students strive to prove their writing ability through this matter of winning a contest or two. And I should say that these medals that I'm wearing here that say printed on the back 2017, 2016, and this one's from 2016, all represent works turned in from Kansas City Public Schools and students who specifically won these categories. I believe this area was for Kelisha Nelson in the area of poetry, and this area was for Maren Barron, who won, I believe, what's called a Modern Voices Award, and we'll look for that category in this grouping. So if we go in and we say by award, right, American Visions, I think, was the area that she had been selected. Let's take a look in there and see what particular pieces were featured in the American Visions category. And you'll see when you see a piece like this, it is probably a writing piece, but again, it looks like this category has awarded mostly people in the visual art area. So again, let's go back just to these writing categories. And let's check out one of their winners and see what it is maybe about their poem that we would guess would make it a winner. I'm going to go into one of the students' favorite areas, and we're going to go into poetry. And you're going to see in this really interesting way the beginning of each of these poets, the first line or so, which really just kind of makes you ponder before you jump in, right? And so let's pick a poem. Let's try, I don't know, this looks like Serena Zhu, Occupying Space. She's from grade 11. How neat would it be for you to be featured on this website with your picture up there, right, with the fact that you won a silver medal from 2020. And again, there's the educator's name featured right alongside it. So it's a really wonderful chance for both the teacher and the student to feel rewarded for some of the things that you might do every year, but no one ever hears about it. A lot of students do this and write and have their own little side projects. So again, if you're out there listening this morning and that's you, just get involved by going to artandwriting.org. Think about perhaps if you qualify or are designated as free and reduced lunch, and then please know that opens up such a wide chance for you to enter these categories as you qualify for a fee waiver. You would simply need to have parents go in there and I think formal signature page to designate that that's true, which in distance learning it might be easier to get such signatures right now as we are home together quite often. So let's see if that could be a reason that perhaps you could reach out and say, hey, can I join this contest? Okay, and when you want to find out more yourself, parents, there's a button up here for you, and you'll go in and you'll see that there's everything you need to support your creative teen. You can learn about the meaning of the awards, so you know that they're getting into a good situation. You can learn about the scholarships that might be available. You can learn about how to enter, which is really not terribly complicated. And this part right here will take you into how to qualify for a fee waiver. And then again, while they're working on these creative projects, you can also help support your teen. There's a chance for you to review copyright and plagiarism guidelines and participation with your teen. Right? And then there's a great frequently asked page and a chance at the bottom for you to get started and create an account. Okay, so I hope that you have found this to be a chance to get involved in something you might not have heard about before. It's certainly a chance for students to jump in on their own and feel like there's nobody that has to give you permission to participate in a national writing contest. And in most cases, as long as you know that you are getting into a contest that is well thought out and well supported by a national organization, again, that is ready to help parents understand how your rights are being protected, then again, take it from this guy as well to say that this is a strong contest that would be trustworthy and well worth your time to participate. It's also exciting to see that a lot of colleges look to find new people to bring onto their universities by trolling through some of these lists. A lot of authors are starting to emerge almost out of secret that they were writing all the time. So if that's you, this is your contest. artandwriting.org. Check it out. I'm be so excited to hear that you did. Have a great day. This has been ELA Tuesday here on KCPS Homeroom. Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another edition of KCPS Homeroom. My name is Chris Odom. I am joined today by an incredible artist and businessman extraordinaire, Suleiman Salam, known as Suli 4Q, from this area, and was one of the students I had the wonderful pleasure of working with in the past. I think he and I met for the first time in my 10th grade English. He was a visual art major at Paseo Academy of the Fine and Performing Arts here in Kansas City. And when I was dabbling in doing things like producing little shows for creative writers, the coolest part is that everybody from the whole school could be involved, not just the writing students. And so really fun to meet people that were not just doing this for school or for class. Suli had been getting ready for this possibility his whole life, it seems. So I'm going to ask him to give us an update. We're going to talk about one of his really successful pieces that is out there today and reflect on it a little bit, let him unpack what's going on with what his career is doing, and maybe give you some advice. So in the middle of this, we're going to stop and watch that very successful video. The clean version, I'm told, has the most hits. So we're going to go there on 38 The Spot this morning, and I hope you're looking forward to that. So, Suli, bring us up to speed. What's been going on with you?
Oh, man. So fresh out of high school, I applied and got a scholarship for audio engineering at the Art Institute of Atlanta. And, you know, I was able to meet a lot of cool people out there, man. So a lot of the people that I met immediately, you know, freshman year of college, all like, you know, have Grammys and plaques on the wall and stuff like that. Now we stay in constant contact, and basically, you know, with being from the inner city and, you know, the financial struggles we had growing up, I ended up, you know, kind of losing everything and ended up being homeless out there and having to figure some things out. So my story was a little bit different than the guys that I met out there. So I had to get real creative with my path to being successful. You know, it was going to be solely on, I had to stop, you know, depending on, being very good and talented and somebody just handed me $1 million. You know what I mean? Because you grow up, you think you rap really well, and if you do everything right and you get the music in the right hands, your life will just change. That wasn't happening for me. You know what I mean? So I actually had to sit down, create a business plan, and work my plan. And I've been extremely blessed because since I was forced to have to do those things, I've been able to do some really cool things like and mentor people I never thought I would be able to mentor. Like people I grew up looking up to in the music business ask me for advice now. You know what I'm saying? I have conversations with them and get them advice. I own my own label. I'm signed to myself. I also own my own clothing line, Real Apparel, and my own manufacturing company. You know what I mean? So I completely am able to do everything from start to finish now with me being a producer, creating. I got 3 number ones with Tech 9 from here in Kansas City. I've got to meet super cool people and have conversations with, people from like Joyner Lucas. He's a big artist now. Jay Diggs from California. I got to take my wife to Jamie Foxx's house, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of her favorite, artists, you know what I'm saying, growing up. So, we got to go chill with Jamie Foxx, you know what I mean? So literally, as a kid, I've been able to do exactly what I set out to do in a unforeseen way. You know what I mean? Because, in the beginning, I thought I was going to sign to somebody else and they was going to do it, but it ended up being something special, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's a testament to what can happen when you literally like never give up. Like when you don't stop, no matter where you from, no matter what your current circumstances is, because, a lot of, I remember explaining what my plan was to people and telling them what type of budget I have, and they laughed at my budget, you know what I mean? And I just had to, take it on the chin and not laugh at myself. You know what I'm saying? I knew where I was coming from. I knew what I was going to have to do to be where I'm at today. And I was able to do it by not giving up and putting in the hard work.
That's fantastic. Thanks for giving us that synopsis and breakdown. And let me tell you that other people I've talked to about your drive and your goal setting and your multiple revenue streams and your decision to like not just dabble in anything you do is, man, it's humbling. I think other people have said that. It's motivational to other people. It's truly fantastic. So I'm honored to get to step back a little bit and remember who you were. And kind of had some guesses, man, like doing Coffee House so many years. And initially it was that I really probably thought we were just doing like a school presentation, and that the longer it grew and the more lineage of people who would like come back to see it because they remembered what it was or something, and it is still going. It's there at Paseo now. They have a brand new creative writing teacher this year named Ben Bullington. Shout out to you, and I'm going to help him make it what it used to be if he wants to. But it was not just a school production at some points. It was generating partnerships and collaborations and networking, and I think people were getting noticed, and we had 200 or 300 people in the audience, and then social media was taking off at the same time, so people were like videotaping stuff, and this really happened the other day, how do I go, right? I was honored and just blown away by it. This hat I'm wearing, I went to this conference, and do you know about Christopher Emden? You should check him out.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, check him out. He is running this particular series and Twitter feed, and is so successful across the country. And I didn't know about it really until a few years ago, even though I'm a practitioner of this art form in the classroom for so long. We were doing something that's not just happening in Kansas City. So I got to go to Harlem and see the Bronx battle Brooklyn in a rap battle, and it's called Science Genius. And I was like, oh my God, like all these things are starting to come together. So I'd love to get you more involved in that in Kansas City, or who knows, man? Maybe you want to just go to the next conference together. It would be mind blowing, but educationally, so it's really becoming bigger part of the discussion. You know, that the idea that someone could bring their true, authentic self into a space, right?
Mhm.
That would be a goal, like a real goal for any space. And so I don't know that I would realize that's what we were doing back when we were doing it, you know. And now I'm giving it terms and words and making sure other people realize that it's important, you know, and that it's what really drives people when they're at home to really be curious what's going on at school too. So that audience. All right, well, we're gonna take a minute and watch this. Set this up for us. It's you said 1 million people have been checking this out.
Yeah, it's
Set it
over.
up for us, and we'll take a watch, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it a little bit more with Suli 4Q. But set us up, man. Take us to the video.
And so this video is, you know, it's called Only Know How to Win. It's featuring my guy Jay Peasy. He has stuff with E40, NBA Youngboy, Yo Gotti, you know what I'm saying? And we've, you know, been blessed to do a lot of great things together. This is one of them. This video just reached over 1 million views, and, you know, humbled and blessed. You know, hope you enjoy it.
I ain't never had a handout, but still found a way for me to stand out. Yeah, every whip got the tint now. I try to stay low key when I step out. But my said your whip ain't clean, unless that bad saying no shoes. I made my mind up as a young teen. There ain't nothing that I can't do. I only know how to win. I took the ends out the pants, got the ends out my sins, put the ends in my friends. Fly, got the air from my fans, became the man from the man, played that out my hand. Yeah, I knew when they didn't. I wasn't playing when I told you that you should've listened. I don't know nobody like me. You see the difference, you see the vision. I'm calm, but I see him blitzing. I ain't getting touched, my lineman's in position. I know who gon' catch it if it's through. Singing in the end zone with my crew. I ain't never had a handout, but still found a way for me to stand out. Yeah, every whip got the tint now. I try to stay low key when I step out. But my said your whip ain't clean, unless that bad saying no shoes. I made my mind up as a young teen. There ain't nothing that it can't do. I only know how to win. I used to pray that this would happen. All I had was passion, scared of looking backwards. Though my dad would tell me this would happen, I was scared of being average. I moved to Atlanta, panic, but I managed. I remember meeting Chan. He told me you gotta listen. Your past is where you been, but where you going's different. As you can see, I'm on a mission now. That's why I'm up when you sitting down. I put my family first, moved back to KC to get it right. I never been afraid to roll the dice. Since I met my nothing's been the same. Clarity know what we overcame. I ain't never had a handout, but still found a way for me to stand out. Yeah, every whip got the tint now. I try to stay low key when I step out. But my said your whip ain't clean, unless that bad saying no shoes. I made my mind up as a young teen. There ain't nothing that it can't do. I only know how to win. I was counting me in. All my losses was a lesson, only know how to win. Had to battle with my demons, face the challenge within. Thanking God for my blessings, I never doubt them again. Had to roll up my sleeves, had to tighten my tins. Candy paint in my cars and went to buy me some rims. I don't do no complaining, I'm about to cop me a Benz and drop the top in the summer and then I'm off in the wind. You ain't gotta put me on, just put me in the booth. Nothing is impossible, you looking at the proof. The squad is Suli 4Q and Adrian the truth. We into making money, not making an excuse. I ain't never had a handout, but still found a way for me to stand out. Yeah, every whip got the tint now. I try to stay low key when I step out. But my said your whip ain't clean, unless that bad saying no shoes. I made my mind up as a young teen. There ain't nothing that it can't do. I only know how to win.
Oh my God. Okay, we're back. It's so fun to see a full, like, orchestrated piece come together, and know how much work went into it and how much vision an artist has to have to produce such a piece, and then to take it all in and have the person sitting right here with us for this conversation. So we're honored today to have the artist with us of what you just experienced, and I hope you loved it. If you don't mind, artist Suli 4Q, will you take us into that piece? It's rare we get the chance to kind of unpack what's going on there, but
Well,
please do for us a little bit.
yeah, so the biggest thing, with music for me, it's always been an outlet for me. You know what I mean? So I can always listen to pieces from different time spots in my life and remember exactly where I was. This is a timestamp. You know what I mean? This is when I finally got to the point mentally where I felt like, man, I've really done this. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I love to do for a living. You know what I mean? Like I dropped my own shoe. Like in the video, it shows people coming in and buying my shoes. You know what I'm saying? $160 a piece, sold out. You know what I mean? All the shoes gone. And, I'm performing in packed out crowds. You know what I'm saying? I'm at Power and Light, you know what I'm saying, 10,000 fans, you know what I'm saying, people waving their hands back and forth, singing lyrics I wrote, you know what I mean, and, just linking up with different people I, grew up listening to, you know what I mean, I just wanted to depict that individual so people could kind of see, what's possible and it happens in very different ways. It doesn't always happen in a traditional way that you think it will. You don't have to, go sign to a label. You don't have to, you know what I mean? You can put your own plan together, work that plan, and do something that you've never seen before.
That's awesome. All right. So to try to pull this together, we could talk forever. We've been talking about that. We were catching up before the video, and I'm like, wait, save it so that we can say that and be raw and feel it like it's real, right? So, but no challenge there, man. I'm feeling it like it was the first day we met. It's so good to catch up with you. Really look forward to seeing how far this thing carries you, and that, or you carry it, or however that goes. But basically also just excited to see the other things you're doing. I know you partnered with Petey McGee, who I talked to a couple days ago, and really helped put together Skin Deep. We were talking our way through that piece and talking about it the other day. Really, really amazing to see, the multiple ways that you're getting in. Like you were talking about shoes, right? And not just some really nice shoes that I could really, really see people wearing. That these were not just, let me paint some shoes and see if I can get them off on Facebook Marketplace. Like, so what would you tell? I know some of it is that I had the honor of meeting your father at many events at Coffee House, and he had instilled to me, like just meeting him, that he was really on the professional side of darn near everything he did and did it to the fullest, right? And so I know that stuff lingers in you as you go on, and I hope I'm not disrespecting by bringing him to the table in this conversation. But what would you tell people maybe that has helped you get to this point, or keep on yourself, or whatever you would say, that comes from some of that wisdom that I think was imparted to you early on?
Yeah, so my father, my dad, he played a huge role, and my mom as well. You know what I mean? Mothers do a great job of making you believe you can do anything you put your mind to. You know what I mean? When my mom said that, I believed her so much, I took it to heart, and I've lived by that. You know what I mean? I've never let anybody tell me I couldn't do something. And my dad really instilled a perfectionist, just really wanting to keep going until I get it all the way 100% right, and always push me to be the best version of myself. But I do have to say, you actually instilled some things into me as well, coming into adulthood, from high school, conversations that we had, and when you had me watch the Tupac documentary. I don't know if you remember that, but that was huge for me, because you let me know, Suli, like, you going to an art school, you from this area, I see the type of kids you're hanging around and things of that nature. You have to make sure that you stay focused. You know what I'm saying? You stay focused and don't lose your way and actually do everything you're capable of doing. And that played a lot of role in me applying for my scholarship for the Art Institute of Atlanta, because honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do out of high school prior to that conversation. I was still debating if I was still going to play basketball. You know what I mean? I didn't know if I was going to still go, pursue that, or if I didn't know what I was going to do. And when you put that in perspective for me, it really made me start thinking of things in different ways. Like, how do I vision my life if I stayed here? And who would I be hanging around? And what type of influence would that have on me? Not being naive, knowing I could get, caught up in something I didn't want to be caught up in or something like that. And I really took heed to that. And, that was, one of the biggest transitional moments in my life. So, what I'm saying, I talk about you quite a bit because of this.
Fantastic. Well, it's fun to know that about you, and fun to kind of get you to talk about it a little bit, because I'm in the same boat. I love that I've not tried to be a person to get away from this city, but really watched it grow and been part of it my whole life. As a student of the Kansas City Public Schools and someone who works there, more than half of my life has been part of that development and process. So I'm excited, and I think you're going to speak loudly to a lot of people in our community, in our city, that I know you already do. So, guys, we're joined by awesome artists this morning. This is Suli 4Q. We've been talking a little bit about his success and his path, and how you could maybe hear some of his words as motivation and ideas on your own success. So we hope you were enjoying this morning. I certainly was. It's an honor to touch base with him again. We're going to sign off on this KCPS Homeroom. Everybody have a great day out.
I am Lincoln Middle.
At Lincoln Middle School, students discover their talents and passions, where teachers plant the seeds of lifelong learning.
I am Lincoln Middle.
Where excellence is nurtured. Students develop the skills to be successful in school, career, and beyond.
Je suis Lincoln Middle.
Lincoln Middle is the public school where your child will thrive and grow. Open a world of possibilities. Apply today. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Lincoln Middle.